you guys, happy Christmas Eve. This is Courtney Anderson with everydayandersons.com. I am coming to you today because it is Christmas Eve and I wanted to do a quick cleaning motivation for you guys. I got up early this morning and went to the store, and I was actually the first one in line at like 3 stores this morning. So I'm back. I've changed into my pajamas and my cute little Santa slippers. I don't know if you can hear them jingling below. But I'm going to be wearing this today just to get myself in the mood, and I'm going to be showing you guys a couple of things that I'm going to be doing to prepare for breakfast tomorrow morning. I'm all about preparing and not having to stress myself out the day of a holiday because I want to enjoy it too. I've already fixed my gumbo yesterday, which was Wednesday, and so today is Thursday. I'm going to be getting ready for breakfast tomorrow. And the last thing is we may make some cookies tonight for Santa Claus. We already have plenty, but I did buy some ingredients for chocolate chip cookies last week, and so we may still make those. But come along and I hope you guys get a little bit of motivation for this. So Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everybody out there from the Andersons. Okay, so you guys know I like to get started with washing the dishes and making sure that the kitchen is clean, and so today is no exception. I'm just going to quickly wash up these dishes and get this kitchen all ready for me to get my stuff ready for Christmas Day. And I just like to prepare like this so that I won't be caught last minute trying to do everything. I'd rather be frustrated a day or two before the holiday than on the actual holiday. This is our gingerbread man that the kids made, and they were so proud of it. I actually did the dimensions myself, and then we just played along with some icing. I didn't buy those expensive icings that were at the store. I actually just bought, I think, like a vanilla frosting and put food coloring and used this piping bag that I already had. And so that worked out really well, and they were really excited about it. So for Christmas we always break it. They usually do this over my aunt's house, but since we're not really being active, I guess I should say, we're just quarantining and being socially distant this year, and so is my aunt. We just decided to do it ourselves this year. This is maybe the 3rd time we've done a gingerbread house, and so we'll smash it on Christmas. You guys, make sure you check out the website at everydayandersons.com. That's with an S, everydayandersons.com. I do post a lot of my recipes on there and just a few extra tips that I don't include in the video. Also, make sure you stay to the end because I want to show you guys how I do my buttermilk biscuits that I've been making for many years. And this year I'm actually going to prepare the flour and the butter mixture ahead of time, and that way it'll be nice and cold, because cold butter and ingredients actually make better biscuits. So they say I don't always refrigerate everything, but this year I will be refrigerating the flour and butter and seeing if that gives me a better result, and also helping me to prepare ahead of time. Also, I'm going to be doing a breakfast casserole. And then my husband kind of threw a monkey wrench in my plans, and I decided to make something else, but you guys will see that in just a little bit. Make sure you subscribe if you like these videos, you guys. If you want to see more cleaning videos or maybe even more cooking, let me know what you want to see more of, because there's so much that goes on here in the Anderson household. And now this kitchen is pretty much done. This is just a speed clean today, and I'm going to move on and actually do the floors in just a little bit. It's just so motivating to get started in a clean kitchen. Even though I do come in and mess it right back up, I just don't want to keep piling stuff on top of stuff, you guys. I want to start off with a clean slate and end with a clean slate. So I am moving on to actually doing the floors, and you guys know that I like to do my floors because it just makes the room come together. And I've been using this wood cleaner that I got from Grove Collaborative. You guys, again, if you want to watch that video, you can check it out, where I just did my recent clean with me videos, and I talked about all the stuff I get from Grove Collaborative and my discount code where you can actually get a free gift set when you order from them. But this is the wood almond cleaner, you guys, and it smells so good. And you know, I like to do the squirt and mop, but I don't think I've actually shown you guys that I just squirt it on the floor and just get down and rub it in, and that's all there really is to it. So I don't always pull out the mop bucket every single time. And this is the carpet refresher that I'm going to be using today, and I'm just going to be sprinkling that around, getting ready for Santa Claus tonight, and vacuuming it up. And this is just a speed clean, so I won't be moving all the chairs and everything, just getting some of this debris off the floor that I can feel when I'm walking on the carpet. The kitchen is all clean. Here I am about to get ready and start off my pre-breakfast for tomorrow. So first I'm gonna make my buttermilk biscuits, and I'm going to show you guys how I do that. So I do 2.5, you can do 2 to 2.5 cups of flour, but I find that when I try to make bigger biscuits, it just doesn't seem like enough when I do 2 cups. So I've been doing about 2.5, and I do dig my cup in there, you guys. I hear people say don't do that, the measurements are wrong. The measurements are never going to be exactly right when you're making things from scratch. So I just have a way of eyeballing it, and you'll see even further in a second. So I just add a couple of turns of salt in there, and this is baking powder, a key ingredient that you need. Sometimes I do 1 tablespoon, but since I put the extra flour, I'm doing 1.5 tablespoons, you guys. And so I'll show you that. Toss that on in. Now I'm going to do sugar, and I do 1 tablespoon of sugar just to balance out some of the flavor in there. And now I'm going to put my blender attachment, and I do like doing this with my KitchenAid, you guys. It makes it so much easier. But if you don't have that, you can use a hand mixer, or you can use a blender like a Ninja blender with the paddle attachment. I used to do that for so many years before I got the KitchenAid, but now that I have it, I absolutely love it. And I don't know if you've ever noticed in my cleaning videos, but it's always dirty because I use it all the time. And so here I have 1 cup of butter, and I did measure it out for you guys beforehand because I have a way of just cutting up the butter and throwing it on in. So I wanted to give you a little more of a close measurement. So it's not 1 full cup that I'm going to use. I think I used about 3/4 cup. And if you were to do just 2 cups of flour, you probably would only need 1/2 cup of flour. But I just have a way of eyeballing it, and I can tell when the pan is getting a little full of butter, and I just let the blender go. What I do is I start off on low, and I let it start to mix. Then I crank it up 1 more, and then I think I go up to level 3 at the end of the mixing process. And I'm just going to show you guys, you can still see some big chunks of butter, but as it continues to go and turn, it will get more crumbly, and that's what you want to see. Some people use shortening, and shortening is fine. I don't like to do a full shortening because to me it just has an oily taste. And also you can do shortening if you want a crisper top or a crispier bottom to your biscuit, but I like really soft biscuits, and the shortening kind of starts to turn brown a little too fast for me, and I don't like that. So I do all butter, and then I'll come back with my buttermilk at the end. And with the buttermilk, you just want your dough to be kind of wet, not a firm dough, but definitely not something that's mushy. And so I'll try to bring you guys that video tomorrow, but it's going to be Christmas Day, and so I may not be able to. But the very last thing you need for these biscuits is the buttermilk. And so you just make a couple of turns of buttermilk. Don't overwork your dough, and just make a couple of folds to get some layers in there, and just use your biscuit cutter. You can use a cup or a mug if you have it, but they tend to smush your sides down. Just use a biscuit cutter that has the really sharp edges. And you can even cut your dough into squares, you guys, with a knife. I've done that so many times. Who says biscuits have to be round, right? So look at those crumbles, and you can see the butter kind of peeking through, and that's what you want. And this is pretty much done. I'm going to put this in the refrigerator and save it overnight for tomorrow, and just add the buttermilk. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna get started on my ground beef, which is gonna be part of my casserole. So these are just some sausages that I had left over from the gumbo, and they've already been kind of fried down a little bit. I realized halfway through frying that I wanted to save some of them, so I took them out, and they didn't get really crispy like the ones that are in the gumbo, but I didn't want them to. I wanted them to still have a soft texture. So I chopped these up, and I'm gonna mix those in with the ground beef a little bit later. And I do have off to the side some onions, bell pepper, and celery that was just left from the gumbo, so that worked out perfectly. I had a lot of seasonings and flavors already ready to go. So this wasn't actually part of the original plan, but since I had enough sausages, I decided to go ahead and use some for breakfast. So there's my ground beef. I'm going to throw that in. It's actually ground chuck that I bought from the farmer's market, you guys. If you want to see how I did that and bagged it up, go check out my farmer's market haul video where I talk about how I budget and plan my meats for the month. And so the ground chuck does have a lot more fat. It has a softer texture. I do drain off a lot of fat, but it actually came in handy today because, like I said, my husband came through with the last minute plan for me. He said that I didn't have to do it, and of course I didn't, but I do want to make sure everyone enjoys their meals around here. And so halfway through cooking the ground beef, he thought that I was fixing gravy for the biscuits tomorrow, and he has been asking me for several, I guess, times of me making biscuits if I was going to make gravy. And since I had ground beef, I just could not say no, you guys, because I felt so guilty. I hadn't made him gravy in a while, and he has been limiting his carbs. And since it's Christmas, we're all indulging in carbs, and I know next week he won't want to eat it, and so I decided to go ahead and make it. And so the fat that comes off this ground chuck is going to be perfect, and you'll see. So sometimes when people are making a white gravy, they start off with oil in the pan and flour, but when you have ground chuck, you don't need that. You already have oil. And so I'm just going to take my vegetables and toss them in here. I did not want them to get cooked down with the ground beef, but I do want them to still be soft and not crispy when we eat them tomorrow, which is fine if it is, because I don't care either way. But I decided to toss them in there so they would just get semi-soft. And so here's my flour again, and like I was saying, if you have oil in that pan from your ground beef, then go ahead and just throw your flour directly into this pan and cook it down with your ground beef. You don't have to make this a separate process. When I was much younger, I used to do it completely separate, take the ground beef out of the pan, get a clean pan, do the butter and flour or oil and flour, and you don't have to do that, you guys. Throw your flour right on in there in that pan. And I do like for my ground beef to have some crisp and crust to it, so I'm just kind of letting it sit there and get a little brown. So mix that right on in, you guys, and it takes maybe 30 seconds for it to really start to cook down. The flour has to cook and get the raw edge off of it. So I've got my oven or my stove on about medium high, but once I put my cream in, I'm going to crank it all the way up. Remember that heat has to be really high for it to start to thicken that cream. And you can use milk, but today I have half and half, and I have milk on standby just in case I needed it. But I want to get rid of this half and half. I've had it a while, but milk would have been just fine. And so I don't know how much I threw in, you guys. It's just enough to really cover the meat, and then I start to stir it around. And I'm going to add a little bit more later, but I start off a little bit on the low side because one thing I don't want to happen is for my gravy to be too watery. So I do start off with less than I think I'm going to need and just let it reduce down. And so I did crank my heat all the way up to high. And once I did that, I let it cook down. I add some pepper. Just can't have white sauce and white gravy without pepper, you guys. And so as you can see, it's bubbling and it thickened up really nice. You could use heavy cream as well, but keep in mind, you guys, if you use half and half or heavy cream, then you definitely don't need a lot of flour. You may need a little bit more flour if you're using milk. And you can add some onion powder if you want to. I think I did a tad of that, and you guys know I love my garlic powder. And so that is pretty much all there is, you guys. And I'm going to show you how I do the casserole and get that ready for tomorrow. Look at that gravy. It looks so delicious. And I did not want to make it perfect today because you guys know when you put it in the refrigerator, it's going to get thick. The flavors are going to set in and it's going to be really nice tomorrow. But there's no point in me continuing to add cream and getting it perfect. So I decided to leave it like this and wait until tomorrow. So I'm just going to scoop this up in an airtight container and put it in the refrigerator. And the last thing we need to do is get our casserole ready for tomorrow. Okay, you guys, so we are back to our ground beef, getting ready for our casserole. So I'm throwing those sausages in there. I've already put the vegetables in and they're kind of semi-soft. And so I'm throwing in the sausages and just mixing that around just a little bit. I added some onion powder and I added some garlic powder to this. Mix that around. And I do have my casserole dish standing by, and I'll show you guys how I layer that up. Okay, so I have these frozen hash browns that I got from the store. These are the Alexia, I'm not sure, hash browns. And so I'm not going to use the whole bag. I'm going to use maybe 3/4 of the bag, and I'm just going to put a layer of hash browns at the bottom of this pan. Put a few more. And then I just go right on top with the ground beef and sausage mixture, you guys. And so what happens at this point, if I were making this the same day, I would add a milk and egg custard mixture to the top of it and just let it cover the meat, almost cover the meat, not fully. That's going to cook down in the oven with some cheese on top. And so some people do this overnight in a slow cooker. The reason why I did not do this overnight is because it makes the cheese turn into a crispy type of cheese, a crust on top, and I did not want that, you guys. I want my cheese to be like a soft ooey gooey, which requires me just putting foil on top of it in the oven. So here I have my half and half. I did 1 cup half and half and 1 cup of milk, and you guys can do any combination, you know, it really doesn't matter. I just want to get rid of this half and half, but I was a little bit nervous to do full half and half because I don't want it to be too thick. I do want it to have a little bit of moisture to it tomorrow. And I add in 2 eggs. And if it's not enough tomorrow, I'm going to add a little bit more milk to the top. But this is just to get me started, okay? So I put some salt and pepper in there, just 1 little turn. And then I'm going to put in some smoked paprika. You guys know I love that, and also some chili powder. And so after I do that, I'm gonna mix it up and whisk it together, you guys. And this jar comes in really handy because after that it'll be done and ready to seal up and go into the refrigerator for tomorrow. And then the last step is to put shredded cheese on top. And so this came together so easy. All I have to do is wake up, turn on the oven, throw this cream mixture on top of the casserole, and that's it, you guys. And so I was so excited to have prepped this really early. I'm going to shred the cheese in my Ninja blender because you guys know that I like fresh shredded cheese, but this is really it. And cover that up and it's good to go. And I've seen some people, when they store their eggs and milk like this, they shake it up, which seems really fun, but I just went ahead and did the fork. I wanted to make sure all the eggs were incorporated. And there you have it, you guys. Everything's ready for tomorrow. I hope that you guys have a wonderful Christmas and holiday season overall. Thank you so much for all of your support. Make sure you check me out at everydayandersons.com. Mwah.